Live from the Washington, D.C. area, it's the Inside Scoop. All the news that our viewers want to know. Now, here's the host.
I want to welcome my next guest tonight. It is Delegate Alfonso Lopez. He is a member of the General Assembly. So we're going to do two things here because he's also running in the 8th Congressional District. But first, Alfonso, I want to find out, what did you think of this session?
Well, I think we can do a lot better. I think we can always do a lot better when we're down in Richmond with the House of Delegates as it stands right now. Besides not passing a budget, besides not having the kind of priorities that Democrats need and want, and besides not getting Medicaid expansion passed, I was very proud of the fact as a freshman that I helped, my legislation created the first affordable housing trust fund in Virginia. We got $8 million in my first 2 years in the General Assembly. They zeroed out funding for affordable housing trust fund this year. It's not in the budget as it stands right now.
Wow.
I thought, before I got in the House of Delegates, the DREAM Act, something I care deeply about, never got out of subcommittee in the House side. My second year, when I had a year to work on it, we got it passed unanimously out of the subcommittee, and then 17-4 out of the full education committee. And they killed it with 18 hours to go before going to crossover with that because they didn't want to vote on it on the floor. They did it again this year. We got it unanimously again this year out of the subcommittee. We got it 19-3 out of the full committee, and they had a week and a half to deal with it in the Appropriations Committee, where they sent it to be killed. They wouldn't even give it a hearing. So let me just tell you, demographics in this state are changing rapidly. And the fact is that not addressing immigration issues, not addressing the DREAM Act, not addressing things that are both economically and morally right for the Commonwealth of Virginia, I think that's offensive. And I'm going to tell you, we can always be doing better in Richmond. We can always be doing better.
Well, it has to be very frustrating, I would imagine, to be in the House of Delegates because the Democrats are in such a minority. So getting it actually out of the subcommittee and the committee by those votes is pretty amazing.
Well, you know, what I've been doing for the last 20 plus years is doing legislative policy. I've been working before Congress. As you know, I was the head of congressional and federal affairs for Virginia for 4 years under Governor Kane. Before that, I worked in the Clinton White House, the Obama White House. I was the head of legislative and congressional affairs as the assistant administrator of the Small Business Administration in President Obama's White House. And I was working with both sides of the aisle. I'm very proud of the fact that in my 3 years in the House of Delegates, I've gotten over 13 bills passed. In the deepest minority that the Democrats have been in several generations, in fact, I think ever.
Right, it is pretty
I've been able
abysmal.
to work across the aisle, and I don't care who gets credit. As long as it's a good idea, I will give my bill to a Republican and become the chief co-patron of my own bill, knowing that that's an easier way to get the bill passed. I will do it, and that's what I've always done. I find a way to get to yes. And I've done it in Congress, working before Congress, and I've done it while as a member of the House of Delegates, and I'll keep doing it every day while I'm a member of Congress representing the 8th.
So you would go, as you put it, a deep minority at the House of Delegates. Now you want to go to Congress, where we're also in the minority.
Right.
Why do you want to go to Congress for the 8th Congressional District?
Well, I got to tell you, I've spent my whole life, even while I was in high school, studying and just drinking up the history of the legislative process in the United States. And literally, I tell a silly story. When the Metro first got built, I used to get dressed, when I was 14 years old, I get dressed up as a page, and I'd go to the Capitol South, from Vienna to Capitol South. I'd get off of Capitol South, walk into the Longworth House office building, go into the bins in the basement, grab a stack of papers, dressed up like a page. I was a big geek. And I would literally walk the halls of Congress with a furrowed brow. And there was no security back then, and I would literally drink it all in. I loved the Capitol. I loved the legislative process. I've loved it my entire life. The opportunity to represent the community I love, my neighbors, my friends in Congress, and I believe with my background and my 20 plus years experience literally working before Congress, we all have experience from Ambassador Buyer to being in the state Senate or being in the state House, but working before Congress and being effective, I would stack my experience up against everyone else's.
So what are your big issues in Congress? What do you want to address when you get there?
Actually, it's several. But the biggest for me is my background's in environmental law, and I worked in the Council on Environmental Quality I actually worked after I left, right after law school. I was one of the lobbyists for the environmental community, working on the National Ambient Air Quality Standards, the Clean Air Act reauthorization, the Safe Drinking Water Act reauthorization, the Kyoto Protocol with climate change.
Okay.
I worked for 3 years as a policy advisor on energy and environment issues to a U.S. Senator. And so I've really been in the weeds on environmental policy for a very long time, not unlike what Jim Moran has been doing for several years. Beyond that, though, affordable housing and immigration.
Okay.
These are issues that are critical to our community, and especially in Northern Virginia. And these are things that I will focus like a laser on.
Well, good luck. I know your election is
June 10th.
June 10th. I keep thinking it's 12th, but it's June 10th.
Please check out alfonsolopez.org, and please support our campaign.
All right. Well, thank you so much for stopping by, Alfonso.
Thank you, Bettina.